EA Sports. It's in the game.
This is for all the marbles.
Let's go. Hey, dude, your dog's peeing.
Oh, what? Whoa, Bella, no.
Touchdown!
Oh, dude, that was so King Lear of you.
King Lear? What? What are you talking about?
Yeah, dude, don't you know King Lear the play?
No.
Oh, well, King Lear is a play marked by a lot of deceit and deception and dishonesty, and that was a really stupid thing of you to do. So it was really King Lear of you.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
William Shakespeare was born on April 23, 1564. He was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, which is approximately 100 miles outside of London. He was the third child born to John Shakespeare and Mary Arden. John Shakespeare was a glovemaker and a leather merchant. It is believed he attended the King's New School, where he would have learned grammar and how to read and write. There is no records of William continuing on to a university level. At the age of 18, he married Anne Hathaway on November 28, 1582. Anne was 26 at the time. The two lovebirds consummated the relationship well before the wedding night, as Anne was already pregnant with their first child at their wedding. The first child, Susanna, was born on May 26, 1583. 2 years later, on February 2nd, 1585, Anne gave birth to a set of twins named Hamlet and Judith. Hamlet died at the age of 11 to a sickness. Shakespeare got into his theatrical career started by writing poetry. Later on, he became a famous actor and playwright. He wrote 37 known plays, but it is believed that he wrote a total of 39. In 1599, William and his acting troupe built the Globe Theatre. William died on his 52nd birthday on April 23, 1616. He is buried at the Holy Trinity Church with a headstone that reads, "Good friend, for Jesus' sake forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed the man who spares these stones, and cursed be he that moves my bones."
Shakespeare wrote King Lear in 1605. King Lear was sandwiched between Shakespeare's other plays, Othello and Hamlet, that he wrote. It is to note that when Shakespeare was writing these plays, he may have been going through a tragic period in his life, as all three of Othello, King Lear, and Hamlet include very much death and dying. Anyway, the setting of King Lear is far removed from Shakespeare's time in life. It's set in the 8th century. However, anxieties and worries of the play hit home with the audience. There's a couple sources that could be possible inspiration for King Lear. The first is Sir Brian Ainsley. Ainsley was a wealthy person in Elizabethan society. His oldest of 3 daughters attempted to have him declared insane so she could have all of his inheritance. His youngest daughter, Cordell, who it is to note has a name very similar to a main character in King Lear, defended him successfully in court. A second source of inspiration would be William Allen. Allen was a former mayor of London who was treated very poorly by his 3 daughters after dividing his wealth between them. Finally, a recent power change from Elizabeth to James I may have left anxiety about a successor for Elizabeth because she produced no male heir. Elizabethan society is very focused on rank and order, and it demanded high respect be paid to wealthy and elderly. The play showed how vulnerable and fragile parents and nobles are to their egoistic children, and this hit home with the audience that Shakespeare was presenting to. The play King Lear uses the element of parallel plots to explain what's going on. So basically, parallel plots are when there are 2 separate happenings going on in completely different places. The characters are basically unrelated, and as these plots progress, they will begin to intertwine, and eventually the whole story will end with the 2 plots coming together as one. So in King Lear, the first part of the parallel plot is the part that involves King Lear. He is an old king getting ready to retire, so to speak. He announces to his whole kingdom that he will be dividing it between his 3 daughters, Regan, Cordelia, and Goneril. He asks his daughters to tell him how much they love him, and their responses will decide what amount of the kingdom they will be receiving. Goneril and Regan flatter the king beyond belief. They say all the right words, but they greatly over-exaggerate their love for King Lear. Naturally, he is very pleased with their responses. Cordelia, however, the third daughter, is not willing to over-exaggerate her feelings for her daughter. She states that she loves King Lear as much as a daughter should love a father and no more. Lear is disgusted with his favorite daughter, Cordelia. He disowns her and kicks her out of the house. Before this happened, two suitors were waiting for Lear's permission to marry Cordelia. One of the suitors is scared away when Lear states how Cordelia has lost all her inheritance and is just a terrible daughter. The other suitor, however, the King of France, is impressed with her honesty and takes her away with him. Goneril and Regan, the unscrupulous and evil daughters, now have nearly full power of the kingdom and make evil plans together. The other half of the parallel plot involves the elderly nobleman Gloucester and his two sons. His first son, Edmund, is illegitimate and generally pretty evil. His second son, Edgar, is legitimate and generally pretty good. His first son, Edmund, is just sick and tired of always being looked down upon for being born out of wedlock, which in this society would pretty much make him like a second-hand person or not even human. So he was sick of being looked at by everyone in this way. So he does some pretty evil thinking and comes up with a plot to trick Gloucester into thinking Edgar is plotting to kill Gloucester. So in this scene we are about to act out, you will see the evil son, Edmund, first trick Edgar into running away, and then trick his father into thinking Edgar had cut him and would be attempting to kill Gloucester.
Today we will be performing Act 2, Scene 1 of King Lear.
Brother, alert, descend. Brother, I say.
My father watches, O sir, fly this place. Intelligence has given where you are hid. You have now the good advantage of the night. Have you not spoken against the Duke of Cornwall? He's coming hither, in the night, in the haste, and Regan with him. And have you not said upon his party, the Duke of Albany? Advise yourself.
I'm sure on't. Not a word.
I hear my father coming. Pardon me in cunning. I must draw my sword upon you. Draw, seem to defend yourself. Quit, well you.
Yield, come before my father. Fly, brother, so farewell.
Some blood drawn upon me beget opinion. Of my more fierce endeavors, I have seen drunkards do more than this in score. Father, father, no help?
Now, Edmund, where's the villain?
He stood here in the dark, his sharp sword out, mumbling wicked charms, conjuring the moon to stand auspicious witness.
Where is he, Edmund?
Look, sir, I bleed.
Where is the villain, Edmund?
Fled this way, sir, when by no means he could.
Pursue him! Go after servants! When by no means what?
Persuade me to the murder of your lordship. But that I told him, the revenging gods, Kings Paracid did all their thunder bent, spoke with manifold and a strong bond. The child, bound to the father, sir, in fine. But when he saw my best alarmed spirits, bold to the quarrel's right, roused to the encounter.
Or whether gasted by the noise I made, full suddenly he fled.
Let him fly far. Not in this land shall he remain uncaught. And found, dispatch. The noble Duke my lord, my worthy patron and arch, he comes tonight, and by his name I will proclaim it. that he who finds him deserves our thanks, bringing the murderous coward to the stake, and he that conceals him, death.
After the scene you just saw, the plot really starts to thicken. Gloucester hears that Lear's evil daughters have turned on him and tries to help him out because he's a loyal nobleman. However, Gloucester is banished from the kingdom by the evil Regan and her husband. Somehow almost all of the characters end up in the city of Dover where the action goes down. Lear and Gloucester have been led there through their crazy wanderings, and armies from France and England meet there to duel. Cordelia and the French army try to rescue the becoming more and more insane by the minute King Lear. The evil Edmund becomes romantically involved with both of the evil sisters, Regan and Goneril. However, when Cordelia tries to rescue King Lear, the English troops that Edmund is leading defeats the French army of Cordelia. Lear and Cordelia are captured by the English army. Meanwhile, Edgar duels with Edmund and finally kills off the evil brother. We learn that Gloucester has died from old age or craziness in the last moments of Edmund's life. Also going on, Goneril poisons Regan out of jealousy and then kills herself when others find out about the poisoning. Cordelia is executed by the English, and Lear dies out of sadness when he hears that his favorite daughter has died. Lear really warms up to Cordelia after she saves him, but it's just a little too late. At the end of the play, the only real main character left is Edgar, the good and legitimate brother. He is kind of left to pick up the pieces of all the violence and suffering, which is pretty typical of a Shakespeare tragedy. Overall, this short section of the play that Tony and I performed sets up the rest of the action in the play. Both Lear and Gloucester being overthrown by their evil children is central to the themes and ideas of the play. Without these scenes, the play's themes would not be presented to the audience in the same strong manner. For example, in Romeo and Juliet, if we didn't have the initial love scenes, the climax just wouldn't be as exciting and interesting, and that the same goes for King Lear. Without these scenes of the parents getting overthrown, the climax of the play wouldn't make sense. King Lear is very much like other Shakespearean tragedies in the fact that it is highly fatal, and many of the main characters don't survive the play. Of the 7 central characters, only Edgar lives at the end of the play. In fact, for a very long time, directors and writers tried to produce a happier version of King Lear, where the good characters lived happily ever after, and Cordelia married Edgar. The 3 tragedies that Shakespeare wrote from 1604 to 1606, Hamlet, Othello, and King Lear, are considered some of Shakespeare's bloodiest and darkest works. So in professional audiences, King Lear is considered a great work of art, however, it is tainted by all the blood shed in it.
A Goodreads review describes King Lear as one of Shakespeare's finest tragedies. The work displays a pessimism and nihilism that makes it a 20th century favorite. The aging King Lear decides to divide his kingdom among his 3 daughters, allotting each a portion in proportion to the eloquence of her declaration of love. The hypocritical Goneril and Regan make a grand pronouncement and are rewarded. Cordelia, the youngest daughter, who truly loves Lear, refuses to make an insincere speech to prove her love and is disinherited. The 2 older sisters mock Lear and renegade on their promise to support him. Cast out, the king slips into madness and wanders about accompanied by his faithful fool. He is aided by the Earl of Kent, who, though banished from the kingdom for having supported Cordelia, has remained in Britain disguised as a peasant.
The play of King Lear is interesting, but at the same time confusing and hard to read. At first, the parallel plots don't intertwine a single bit, and that makes the play confusing. However, as the play goes on, it makes more and more sense, and the reader or watcher starts to grasp what is happening. The final battle scene is pretty epic, with death upon death, and although it's horrific, it's at the same time exciting. The end scene kind of makes the rest of the plays confusing and at times dry dialogue worth the read. Overall, King Lear is a work of art that is probably not appreciated as much as it should be. Thanks for watching.
Nailed